Ladies and gentlemen, I have been fortunate in my career to participate in a great many fire service events, most notably including FDIC. And oftentimes I'm unable to thank those people who provided me with those incredible opportunities. However, this morning, I get the opportunity to express what I know many of us would like to express: our gratitude, our thanks, and perhaps most of all, our admiration for the many sacrifices that the IAFF General President Schaitberger has made on our behalf. But how do you do that? How do you express something as important as that? Well, I thought perhaps I needed to go to the true poet, the original poet, Homer, who was the author of the Iliad and the Odyssey. There is a line from Homer which expresses the importance of character and commitment. It eulogizes the greatest men of his generation, and it goes like this: "If they ever tell my story, let them say that I walked with giants. Men rise and fall like the winter wheat, but these names will never die. Let them say I lived in a time of Hector, the tamer of horses. Let them say that I lived in the time of Achilles." The firefighter version, my version of that poetry today would be: if they ever tell my story, let them say that I walked with giants. Men will rise and fall like the winter wheat, but for firefighters, these names will never die. Let them say that I lived in a time of Brunacini, Norman, and Brennan. Let them say that I lived in the time of Schaitberger. For those of you who may have been born yesterday, Harold Schaitberger is the 9th president of the IAFF, and he has served as general president since 2000. He is a former Fairfax County, Virginia firefighter, and he created our union's political and legislative programs. He is on the AFL-CIO Executive Committee, and he is the vice president of the AFL-CIO Executive Council. He is the chairman of the Board of Trustees for the IAF Burn Foundation and a member of the IAFF Fallen Firefighter Memorial. He is a friend and a mentor to every firefighter and continues to be a great friend to fire engineering, a great friend to America and Canada. Please rise and join with me in welcoming the General President of the IAFF, the Honorable Harold Schaitberger.
Very kind. Thank you. My goodness. Homer, Achilles. Thought he was talking about my heel. Bobby, thank you for that very generous introduction. But I have to admit, I come out feeling humble and quite frankly, a little inadequate after following the presentation of the 2009 Tom Brennan Lifetime Achievement Award. Chief John Norman, I tell you what, you have set the bar for all of us. An incredible career, something I know you're proud of, but something I want to make sure that on behalf of the 295,000 men and women of the IAFF, you epitomize everything that we hold dear as a professional firefighter, and to set the standards for all of us to follow. Congratulations on your well-deserved reward. And I would like to just say also good morning and to my leadership here in this district, Indiana, and certainly this great city of Indianapolis. To Tom Miller, my friend and brother for over 35 years, our district vice president who serves the great Midwest, to Tom Hannafy, who is our president of our Indiana State Council, doing incredible work on behalf of the firefighters throughout this state, and to Wayne Smith, Local 416's president, and the work he's doing on behalf of a proud and historically successful local. I want to make sure that I acknowledge their presence and thank them for all their work. Let me say this morning to my brothers and sisters, to all the IAFF members who are here, and to those in this fire service that may not hold a proud union card of our international union. This morning we gathered together at this largest of trade shows, this instructors conference that does such incredible work, providing training, the basic needs for all of our brothers, sisters, members, colleagues, to be able to do the tough job they're asked to do, to be able to do it well, proficiently, efficiently, to be able to do it safe. This conference, this trade show this morning is at a time that is surely among the most economically challenging in our nation's history. I don't think that the pain that our country is currently feeling is missed by anybody in this audience. If not directly, a friend, a neighbor, a brother or sister, a mother or father, a child. We meet as millions of working Americans and their families are struggling to save their livelihoods. They're trying to stay in their homes. They're trying to hold on to some hopeful economic future. We're meeting while 13 million American workers have lost their job. They're out of work. Unemployment's been climbing every single month. 650,000 workers losing their job in each of the past 4 months. 22,000 workers losing a job every single day. We wake up this morning with General Motors announcing they are now likely to close 9 of their manufacturing plants, 15, for 9 weeks. And the ripple that will likely have throughout the entire North America with parts manufacturers and suppliers is only going to add to the crisis that we're all currently facing. The financial markets, we've watched them crash, falling to their lowest levels in 15 years. It's not just about your own 401ks and 457s that are half of what they once were. It's setting the stage for an attack on our retirement systems that now find themselves stressed, so many underfunded, leaving those that would like to really attack us to undo decades of work an opportunity to do so. No, we look around our neighborhoods and our cities and our communities, and we see foreclosures that are rampant. Home values lower and lower and lower, driving tax assets and base lower and lower. Revenues are on the decline, neighborhoods deteriorating, vacant structures endangering your lives, my members' lives. The banking system, it might have loosened up a little bit. It's effectively been frozen. No credit, businesses going under, individuals unable to get credit. Result, fewer jobs, more jobs lost. And yes, that translates into less and less revenue again for all of your communities. In the greatest country on this earth, a nation that is the only superpower on this globe, we have 49 million Americans that are still without health insurance. And those that do have coverage, which thank God is virtually all of my members, they're watching their premiums go up, skyrocketing, co-pays are increasing. Some cases, the quality of care is falling. And I don't have to tell you, particularly those that, as we should be, running our EMS operations, for too many Americans, the fire and rescue service, 911, has now become their pathway to too many. And how are they getting their health care? They're going to the emergency rooms. They're being transported in the most expensive transport system in the industry. They're going to the most expensive medical delivery system in the industry. And why are those less fortunate and poor doing so? They have no other place to go. More and more stress placed on you, us, our profession. And on top of all this, we have the men and women who proudly wear the uniform of our nations. Many of them IAFF members. Many of them from the ranks of the fire service at every level. Still fighting in two costly wars. Costly in both financial and human terms, in Iraq and Afghanistan. With all of that as our backdrop this morning, clearly these are extraordinary times. The stakes are extremely high, and we are faced with a major challenge as the leaders in this country's fire service, all of us. Chief officers, union officials, leaders in our communities, from all parts of our industries. And clearly, we have to respond to these challenges. Now, at the national level, the IAFF has been working and trying to work hard to ensure that our nation's emergency services weren't forgotten in this last stimulus bill. We've all read a lot about it. Hundreds of billions of dollars being sent out to communities, state and local governments, getting their share. And the fact of the matter is that after private meetings with the highest officials in our nation's administration, the president and the vice president, that I've had the opportunity to talk to, and to talk to about the things that are important to me, and I hope the things that are important to all of you, because who we talked about was you. We talked about our members all across our nation, those who are working under tremendous pressure to protect their communities while city and county and municipal budgets are being slashed around them. We discussed the imperative idea of keeping our communities safe in these uncertain times, that now is not the time to allow the front line of our homeland defense, all of you in this room and beyond like you, not here today, to be weakened. I've spoken to the leadership of our Congress, Majority Leader Reid in the Senate, Speaker Pelosi, and a number of other Senate and congressional leaders, talking to them about the need to make sure that we get our share, not just because we want our share, but because we are entitled to make sure that we are resourced to do the tough and difficult and dangerous job that you've chosen, but we're also asked to do on behalf of our citizens. And out of those discussions and out of those efforts came some help, $8.8 billion in discretionary funds that was finally set aside after a lot of arguing, set aside to aid local communities. But the truth of the matter is, it's not directed aid to you, to us. It's aid which is controlled by the governors in each state. So now we have additional work to do. Now we have to go state by state, governor by governor, collectively, to ensure that our share, in order to keep our jobs, to keep those rigs staffed, to keep stations open, to keep the companies running, that share is there to help us shore up our services that we're expected to deliver. Well, we got a little help, $210 million targeted for fire station construction. I'm not going to minimize that. But the fact of the matter is that I really know the reality of what the stimulus legislation did. But more importantly, I know what it did not do. And we did not get not only what we wanted, more importantly, we didn't get what we needed, what you need. And we didn't get what this profession deserves, what we're entitled to simply be able to do our work. Now, I'm not shy, so you can bet your house that I've communicated this union's unhappiness with what is to be a friendly administration and Congress. But as Bobby said this morning in his remarks, I'm not interested in words. I want to see deeds. I want to see the result of the leadership and those that we help elect to run our governments at all levels to do the right thing. I've reached out just this week. I've spoken last week to the Speaker again, to the Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer, Leader Reid. I met yesterday with Dick Durbin. We're doing our part. We're trying to tee this stimulus fix back up. And the result is, I believe we now have the hope of getting the process to respond to you and to our members, to our departments, to our communities. I believe we have a solution now ready to go forward. We're looking for the right vehicle, whether it's the supplemental bill that's going through the Congress now, or whether we run it as a standalone, which I discussed with Chuck Schumer and other leaderships yesterday and earlier this week. I am confident that now we have their attention. I'm confident that they're committed to do the right thing. And I'm confident that in the coming weeks, your jurisdictions are going to be able to pursue the dedicated resources for fire departments to keep firefighters riding those rigs. We're going to bring back the hundreds of our members that have been laid off. We're going to fill those rifts that have been left empty through attrition. We're going to do it because it's the right thing to do, and we're going to do it because it's their responsibility to make sure that our industry and our profession is fully prepared and fully staffed. We're going to do it together. But it's going to take all of us to make sure that we're focused on it together. What lobbying really around this first package reinforced for me, I hope that my message will get through, is that knowing the strong challenges that tight budgets and budget deficits have leveled at all of you back home, that we're up against it. This is not going to be easy. One fight, the next fight. I mean, in this crisis, it's not enough to remind lawmakers that cutting firefighters is putting the safety of your community at risk. Quite frankly, it's reminding them that the fiscal emergencies many jurisdictions are facing are just simply too great. And the lawmakers and the decision makers have to do the right thing. They have to respond to us like we are responding on their behalf to our communities. I'm troubled by so many challenges that I see on the horizon. I have to call it like I see it, and certainly as I feel it. We've got the ICMA. It stands up against every single thing I believe is an important advance or agenda on behalf of our profession time after time. I've got to watch NACO looking to cut pennies and dollars at the expense of firefighter safety. I've got to watch the League of Cities use management groups like Tri-Data to propose what they call cost-cutting programs. And now we got Tri-Data, who's doing an alleged study to simply try to make the case that the cancer presumption laws and the protection that that provides to our members and to firefighters all across two nations isn't justified. There is no link. They say the link between firefighting and cancer can't really be connected. They're saying anything just to simply justify the dangerous cuts that they would like to implement. They'd like to roll back the programs that we've built over time. They'd like to prevent our moving a health and safety agenda forward. And why? Because it costs a few bucks. Well, I can tell you this. This IAFF knows that it's our members, it's all of you that continue to crawl down those hallways. And it's our members and all of you that are exposed to hostile environments and carcinogens over a career. And I can tell you that League of Cities has once again taken on a fight that I don't think that they're ready for, and Tri-Data has taken on a union that we're going to see, as far as I'm concerned, that they don't do business in our industry anymore. Tri-Data has woken up this IAFF once again. It's times like these that the needs of our profession get really put in perspective, when weaknesses and certain aspects of our operations get exposed and then turn around and attack. The job losses we've experienced, the company and station closures, the brownouts, the furloughs, they're all a reflection of these economic realities we face. But these cutbacks are also a result of those that want to use this economic crisis as an excuse to simply gut our operations. Let those rigs ride understaffed. Who's going to notice? As long as the general public sees them coming out of a bay door, lights and sirens screaming, who's going to explain to them the difference in riding full and riding unsafe? Who's going to be able to make sure the citizens understand that it's them at risk? And certainly our own members and you at risk. That's all of our collective jobs together to do. And where this crisis is concerned, what Churchill said in the 1940s probably is right today. He said, "This isn't the end. It's not the beginning of the end, but rather the end of the beginning." The reality is that we have several more of these budget cycles in front of us, during which we'll be dealing with the effects of this recession teetering on depression. It doesn't do us any good to deny that the value of the assets used to generate local government revenue has plummeted. Hell, we've already seen that this crisis has resulted in government-funded agencies everywhere contracting, as they now call it, decreasing in size, reducing the span and depth of services. And as public workers, for those that work in this industry, we're caught up in that contraction. So I'm asking all of you here today, I'm asking you in this audience, we have IAFF leaders that I know here, and I have members here, and I know we have chief officers here. We have the volunteer community here. And some of this, we're all together in trying to protect the integrity of the work we do. And the truth is, we collectively are not always on the same page. I get that. We have our different institutions. We have our different organizations. We sometimes see our areas of responsibility somewhat different. We each have our own agendas we're pushing and our own constituencies that we have to answer to. But on one issue, I believe we all can be truly together. We're all accountable. And ultimately, that's the safety and security of firefighters responding to emergencies. That's what I think this is all about. I make no value judgments about any of our organizations when it comes to that. I know our union, I often say, this isn't a club. You know, this isn't a fraternity we're in. We're in a trade union that's committed to improve and hopefully enrich the careers of our members. But most importantly, we're here to make sure that they live. All of us recognize the proud traditions of our profession. And the sad truth is that we do great jobs at funerals. I was at a wonderful memorial service just last week in Houston. Hobbs and Harlow, 2 more of our own lost in the line of duty. You know, the pipers pipe, the drums beat. The honor guard stands erect and proud, standing at attention. We have our traditions. We do a wonderful job in honoring our own fallen. But our job really needs to be so committed to make sure that we go to less and less of these honorable send-offs. That everybody in this room, each and every one of us, have to really be committed to try to make this job a little bit safer and to allow those that choose it as a career to be able to enjoy a retirement at the end of their proud service to their community. More than anything, I believe all of us should be preaching a unified message to those who control the purse strings in our jurisdictions on this issue. Because if we're not on the same page, if we don't agree, the bean counters, you know what they're going to do. The bean counters who see firefighters as dollar signs are not going to do anything other than try to close companies. They'll initiate brownouts. They'll try to close stations. They'll really try to pit many of us against each other. Because if they can turn our attention to each other and expend some of our energy, then we may actually not get after those that are really causing the problem and really exposing our people. You know, they are going to and have already been taking a step further in too many ways. They're cutting our crew sizes, and God help firefighters and the public when that happens. And so I ask all of you, what should our unified bottom line be? What is the point of all these words I'm saying here this morning? And I submit that to do the job to protect firefighters and EMS workers on the front lines, we must not just weather this storm by having a realistic strategy grounded in safety and security of the men and women who ride those rigs. We've got to act. We've got to turn our words into deeds. Where lives are on the line, it's our duty to protect our own. We must keep our members safe as possible while they're doing this job. As far as I'm concerned, we have no other choice. We have no other duty to those that most of us have sworn an allegiance to, in one capacity or another. So as you engage the decision makers in your own jurisdictions, as they seek ways to cut during this physical crisis, with no understanding about the effects of crew size reductions on our members' safety or the risk to the community, we must make sure and tell them we're drawing the line. And I say that we must hold the line on the issues where life and death are concerned, and for us, that line is adequate staffing. Adequate staffing is imperative at the individual company level. We do a lot of talking. Last night, I know those rigs should never roll out with less than 4s and 5s. You know it. I know it. We'll make excuses. Some can't meet that bar yet. But that's what they should be riding. And where we're already below those numbers, further cuts are simply a death sentence for our members and for the citizens they're serving. And we cannot be shy about saying that. We can't try to do what we always intend to do, or it's our culture to do. And that is, we're just going to make it work. We got to make sure the media and the public understands really what's at stake. We must clearly make the case, and we must say in no uncertain terms that closing companies and firehouses is dangerous. And we need to try to prevent that. But we cannot let a rig roll out of a station understaffed under any circumstances. If we got to close a company, if we got to close a station, I'll take that fight to the community. I'll take that fight to the neighborhoods. But we cannot give up a ride. We can't give up a spot on a rig. That's our job. That should be our position. It's bad for everybody, the public, and it's life-threatening for you, firefighters throughout 2 great countries that are represented here. Now, there's going to be tough decisions to make. And you're going to be asked to make some painful adjustments in other areas. You're going to be asked by mayors, city managers. I've been all over this country. I've watched what our locals are trying to do. I know what they're trying, the fights that they're up against. But as the guardians of our members and as the guardians of public safety, our core mission is still simply to ensure their safety. And it's clear to me that our union is in the business of one thing. We call it protecting the protectors. And I believe that every chief out here is committed and feels the same way. Whether we find ourselves in some disagreement across a bargaining table, hey, that happens. There's somebody, on the line, gets a little out of line and, we find ourselves arguing over a disciplinary measure. But when it comes down to, are we keeping our people safe, I know every chief officer is as committed, certainly as this union and every union officer, to simply do that. Every company officer and every line firefighter I know feels the same way. And I believe you feel it, whether you do it for a living or whether it's those of you who are doing it just in your community. We're all stakeholders in this. We're all concerned about the same thing. And ultimately, we have to be on the same page on this issue, or we're going to be party to increasing the levels of danger to our own members, the dangers they're already facing. So our bottom line has to be keep staffing levels safe. Simple words, it's hard to do. It's not going to be easy. But if we use the lessons we've already learned from our past, we've already have the guidance we need on how to build for a stronger future, then we can get it done. What we already know that can help us is what we have seen over time. Some of our departments want to resist, but the fact of the matter is that those departments positioned to provide the widest range of safety services, particularly integrated fire and emergency medical response, are the most likely to be able to resist cuts that affect your members, their safety, and their security. We know that the more valuable that we make our members and ourselves to our communities, whether it's cross-trained paramedic response, whether it's technical rescue, high-angle, confined space, swift water, whether it's hazmat, WMD training and response, or some of the more unconventional services that we're really beginning to explore, blood pressure screenings and stations, providing flu shots, fire education programs. All of this we know can help to secure our departments and the firefighters that are in them. It's just up to us to decide whether we're going to do it. Are we going to be able to bust out of some of our culture? We're going to be able to set aside some of our traditions. We know this because we've seen it time and time again. And in the 21st century, in times where our members' security and safety are threatened, it is imperative that every department head in that direction. Every one of us in that direction. And if we all put our shoulders to that wheel, that proverbial wheel that's going to roll, and that we push in the same direction, that out of these challenging times will emerge a stronger fire service. So I say, let's continue our work, but let's lift it up to another level. Let's find the areas where we have common interests and common responsibilities and use them to advance the agenda on behalf of our combined members. Let's continue our tradition of meeting adversity head on, and let's get the job done for those on the front lines every day, every place. That's my challenge to you. We accept the challenge. God bless you, and may God bless every firefighter and soldier on the front lines everywhere. Thank you. Thank you very much.